HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it. In a shocking revelation that has stunned the world, a lost letter by Princess Diana written to Princess Anne has been found 27 years after her death. This intimate writing has been lost for decades, only to be stumbled upon during a recent renovation in the palace. The content of this letter gives a shocking insight into what the beloved beauty faced during her days in the royal family. What did Princess Diana reveal to Princess Anne? This will change everything you thought you knew about the life of Princess Diana. Princess Diana was a member of the British royal family. She was the first wife of Charles, Prince of Wales, and the mother of Prince William and Prince Harry. Diana's activism and glamour made her an international icon, earning her enduring popularity. She was born into British nobility and grew up close to the royal family on their Sandringham estate. Although she did not distinguish herself academically, she was talented in music, dance, and sports. Diana came to prominence in 1981 upon her engagement to Prince Charles, the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth II. After a brief courtship, their wedding took place at St. Paul's Cathedral in 1981 and made her Princess of Wales, a role in which the public enthusiastically received her. The couple had two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, who were then second and third in the line of succession to the British throne. Diana and Charles became estranged over the years, and Diana struggled with depression and bulimia during their union. There were reports of infidelity from both parties. Most notably, Diana was said to have been in a relationship with Major James Hewitt from 1986 to 1991, while Charles resumed his relationship with his ex-girlfriend and future wife, Queen Camilla. By the early 1990s, Diana and Charles were so visibly unhappy together that the media dubbed them the Glums. As they were faced with so many unresolved marital issues, it finally led to their decision to separate. Diana's separation from Charles was announced in December 1992 by British Prime Minister John Major, who read a statement from the royal family to the House of Commons. During an infamous 1995 interview with the BBC programme Panorama, Diana questioned whether Charles could handle becoming king one day and also spoke of his infidelity. She told the interviewer that there were three of us in this marriage, hence it was a bit crowded, referring to Prince Charles's affair with Camilla. The interview proved to be the final straw, and shortly afterward, Queen Elizabeth urged Diana and Charles to end their marriage officially. From that moment, the details of their marital difficulties became increasingly publicized, and the divorce was finalized in August 1996. Diana was allowed to keep her apartment at Kensington Palace and was granted access to other apartments, although she had to obtain permission to use them. She was also provided access to jets used by the royal family. Ceased to pay her bills after the divorce, significantly altering her lifestyle and financial control. Although she retained her title as Princess of Wales, Diana was stripped of the title of Her Royal Highness, without which she was forced to curtsy to all her former family members, including her ex-husband and children. Queen Elizabeth II was reportedly willing to let her keep the title, but Charles insisted she lose it. Additionally, Diana gave up any claim to the British music throne following her divorce. Princess Diana maintained high popularity with the public. She devoted herself to her sons and charitable efforts, often raising awareness for women and children. She also continued her royal duties and was offered continued security by royalty protection officers, though she refused such protection except when she traveled with her sons. Diana had several romantic relationships after her divorce. From 1995 to 1997, she dated the British Pakistani heart surgeon Hasnat Khan, whom she once described as the love of her life. After that, in late 1997, the then 36-year-old princess got into a blossoming relationship with Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian film producer and the son of Harrods department store owner Mohammed Al Fayed. It was reported that some members of the royal family and former Prime Minister Tony Blair did not approve of the relationship between Diana and Dodi Fayed. The new couple didn't mind the royal family's approval but were always seen together traveling the world. During the summer of that year, they were vacationing in France together. Diana, one of the most photographed women in the world, continued her unprecedented popularity both in Britain and abroad after her divorce. Although she used that celebrity effectively in promoting her charitable work, the media, particularly the paparazzi, were often intrusive. One night in August 1997, the princess was in Paris with Al-Fayed when the paparazzi followed the car she was traveling in, hoping to get a photo of the couple. The driver tried to evade them but lost control, and their vehicle slammed into a support column in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris. Then it flipped and rested in front of oncoming traffic. Al-Fayed and the driver died instantly, while medical workers attempted to keep Diana alive for hours before her death was announced at nearly 5 a.m. on August 31, 1997. The princess's death shocked the world and caused an unprecedented outpouring of grief. The British royal family was widely criticized for its perceived indifference in initially handling the tragedy. Decades after she passed on, Princess Diana's legacy endures. News of her sudden tragic death shocked the world and sparked a global outpouring of public grief. Queen Elizabeth II, who was criticized for not immediately responding publicly to Diana's death, finally made a televised address from Buckingham Palace on September 5, 1997, in which she said that no one who knew Diana would ever forget her and that her legacy would live on. There were many conspiracy theories about who was responsible for the accident. Was the fatal crash all it seemed, or was there a hidden plot? Conspiracy theories following an investigation into Diana's fatal car accident. A report released in 1999 determined that the driver was at fault for driving at a high speed while under the influence of alcohol and antidepressant substances. Toxicological tests found Paul's blood alcohol level to be about 3 times the legal limit. In France, the test also detected the presence of prescription substances that can adversely interact with alcohol. At the time of the crash, Paul had also been driving fast. A vehicle manufacturer conducted crash tests and concluded that the car traveled approximately 65 miles per hour, exceeding the speed limit. Though the photographers were initially blamed for causing the accident, a French judge in 1999 cleared them of any wrongdoing, and charges were immediately dropped against them. In April 2008, however, a British inquest jury ruled both the driver and the paparazzi guilty of unlawful killing through grossly negligent driving. One of the main motives that has been advanced for the alleged planned accident includes the assertion of Mohammed Al-Fayed, the former Harrods owner and Dodi's father, who believes Diana and Dodi were the victims of a plot involving the British security services and Prince Philip, who acted before the couple could announce their engagement. He claimed that Diana was pregnant with Dodi Fayed's child and the couple was about to get engaged. The alleged dislike of the idea of a non-Christian within the British royal family meant such a relationship between the mother of the future king and an Egyptian Muslim would embarrass the royal family and would not be tolerated. Al-Fayed had asserted in television interviews that the couple wanted to announce their engagement on the Monday after the crash, September 1, 1997. John McNamara, a former senior detective at Scotland Yard, headed Al-Fayed's investigation for 5 years from 1997. After the cross-examination, he conceded that he had found no evidence of a criminal conspiracy to harm Princess Diana or Fayed, or that she was engaged or pregnant at the time of her death as Al-Fayed, the father of Fayed, had claimed. Despite the report, rumors about alternative reasons for the accident persisted for years. So many letters have been discovered since then with the contents exposing the mystery of that tragic night. But recently, during the last renovation at the palace, Princess Anne made the headlines by dropping a stunning revelation about a letter Princess Diana wrote to her before she passed on. Princess Diana and Princess Anne's relationship, we hope, contributes to the monarchy in the way in which it can convey continuity. We need to examine their relationship to understand the significance of this letter. Princess Anne stands out among the royal family members. She is the fierce keeper of the royal family's secrets. Princess Anne, also known as the Princess Royal, is the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, born on August 15, 1950. She is also the only sibling of King Charles. Over time, she has shown her dedication to royal duties and has been involved in many charity movements. She is known to have a disciplined attitude and strong work ethic. Princess Anne was a no-nonsense royal who stomped around Buckingham Palace and appalled the Queen with her frank conversation. Anne had a relationship in 1970 with Andrew Parker Bowles, who later married Camilla Shand. Camilla later married King Charles, Anne's elder brother, becoming the second wife and queen consort. Anne married Captain Peter Phillips, and the union produced 2 children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall. After her first marriage was dissolved, she married Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence, who is currently married to him. In the years after Diana came onto the royal scene, there were several rumors of a rivalry between the new Princess of Wales and Queen Elizabeth's only daughter, Princess Royal, with the 2 women supposedly competing for public and institutional recognition. Anne complains that she is constantly compared to Diana in the press, given that they are the only 2 young female members of the royal family in real life. However, the dynamic between the royal sisters-in-law was even more tense. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward claimed Anne was indifferent to Diana initially and even called her a silly girl. The 2 women could not have been more different. Anne, 11 years older than Diana, was an avid outdoor woman and workhorse, uninterested in frivolity. Diana, meanwhile, was a fun-loving, fragile young woman who craved affection and a good time. Seward claimed that tensions between Anne and Diana skyrocketed at the end of Ascot Week in June 1981, barely a month after Diana's marriage. Sensing Anne's indifference towards her and wanting to get on her good side, Diana ventured up to the nursery in the Queen's Tower, where Anne was settling in with her son Peter, who was 3, and her 4-week-old daughter Zara. Princess Diana, still only a lady then, gave the princess the benefit of full courtesy and tried to start a conversation with her, but instead of getting a friendly reaction, Princess Anne looked at Diana contemptuously. Diana, confronted by the searing force of Anne's scorn, left the room. More awkward encounters ensued, including a reportedly cringe-worthy present exchange at Christmas later that year. A royal reporter confirmed that Anne did not have time for Diana. She didn't like how she went about her duty and how she used the cameras and the media to promote herself. And had a much more traditional approach to monarchy and royal duty. But Diana was not the only sister-in-law whom Anne reportedly resented. She was extremely annoyed when Diana became center stage and also annoyed Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew's ex-wife, when she also became the center of attention for a while. Princess Anne thought both women, whom she dismissed as those girls, were lessening the stature of the royal family by focusing too much on the media spotlight. In turn, Diana began to actively avoid her sister-in-law, because Anne would usually say something rude to her. In 1984, in Diana's most notable snub of Anne, the late princess reportedly refused to invite Anne to be a godmother to Prince Harry. In turn, Anne intentionally skipped Harry's christening, though the palace's official excuse for Anne's absence was that she was hosting a shooting party at Gadham Park and could not leave her guests. According to biographer James Whittaker, the palace statement fooled no one. There was no love between the 2 women, they. Bulimia nervosa, a disorder that started shortly after her engagement. She revealed in her diary that the disorder began the week after they became engaged, triggered by feelings of inadequacy and Charles's disparaging remarks about her appearance. Her deteriorating mental health worsened as the marriage continued, and she felt increasingly isolated in the royal family. A friend eventually encouraged had little in common, and was irritated by Diana, who was constantly frenzied in the press about her clothes and charm. When Diana was told that she might have Anne as a godmother for any daughter she might have, Diana retorted that she just didn't like her. She may be wonderful doing all that charity work for Save the Children and others, but she could also do it even though Anne was not Harry's godmother. The princess stepped up to support Harry at a critical time. Tina Brown wrote in her Diana biography that after Diana's 1997 death, Princess Anne was especially kind to Harry, whose fragility was manifest. She took him alone, exploring the Balmoral wilds on foot and horseback. So why did Princess Diana leave a secret letter to Princess Anne? Were there other letters, and what did they contain? Princess Diana's secret diary and other letters. The pressure was enormous, but as years go on, it gets better, but you're still learning all the time. Although Diana gave the impression of being a glamorous woman loved by the public and regarded as the people's princess, the reality was quite different. Diana struggled to adapt to strict royal protocols and was continuously watched because of her fame. She felt increasingly trapped within the royal family and used her diary to vent frustration she could not express publicly. She also revealed secrets about her life as a royal and her marriage to King Charles, with the cracks in their relationship becoming more apparent in her entries, which shifted from uncertain optimism to heartbreak and rage. When Diana married King Charles, she held high hopes that their relationship would be based on mutual respect. Still, her hopes were dashed when she discovered that Charles seemed more interested in another woman, Camilla, than in her. Diana discussed the growing emotional distance between her and Charles in one section of her diary, writing, "I thought we were supposed to be in this together, but it feels like I'm fighting alone." Over time, her diary entries shifted from loneliness to resentment. She appeared to have given up on preserving her marriage, becoming increasingly bitter about Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles. To make matters worse, Diana felt helpless and angry that the royal family had permitted the affair. She felt compelled to remain silent despite her mounting emotional distress. She once sought advice from the Queen about her loveless marriage, sobbing and asking what she should do. The Queen reportedly offered no assistance or support as Charles was the heir. Diana was left alone to bear the burden of their broken marriage. In one diary entry, she wrote, "It's as if my feelings don't matter. I'm nothing to him. How could he do this to me?" Diana's seemingly perfect marriage was already unraveling, and she used her diary to record her inner thoughts in a much more intimate way than the letters she was known for. According to royal insiders, Diana turned to her diary as her fairy tale marriage transformed into a nightmare, with the diary serving as a therapeutic outlet. Secret tapes later revealed details about her marriage, including the shocking revelation in her diary that King Charles was envious of her because she garnered more public attention than he did. Their relationship was tainted by jealousy, and in 1995, Diana disclosed that Charles resented the attention she received. She claimed that Charles was envious because, during public appearances, people wanted to meet her more than him. The heir apparent, however, grew increasingly jealous as Diana's star rose after their marriage. Diana was aware of her husband's jealousy, and this awareness only intensified her feelings of loneliness and depression in her marriage. In another diary entry, Diana wrote, "I'm not just his wife, I'm a person who deserves to be heard." Despite her husband's jealousy of her fame, Diana appreciated the public's love and admiration, though this unexpected cost was his resentment. She also wrote, "He hates that they love me more than him." Her diary painted a picture of an insecure man who, due to his insecurities, vented his frustrations on Diana by disparaging remarks about her appearance and downplaying her contributions to royal duties. Charles's comments left Diana feeling as though she would never be good enough for him, and she struggled with bulimia as a way to control her weight, partly due to his words. "Whenever we're out together, it seems he can't stand that the crowd cheers louder for me," she wrote. Charles's jealousy wasn't the only source of tension in their marriage. His continuous affair with Camilla deeply wounded Diana. From the start of their marriage, she sensed his divided loyalty. Eventually, Diana herself would have affairs after realizing that her relationship with Charles would never be loving or fulfilling, as his heart always seemed to belong to Camilla. These pressures made Diana feel inadequate, as she noted, "Every time I come up for air, he pushes me down." Years of being ignored, emotionally neglected, and undervalued intensified her heartbreak, which ultimately boiled over into raw, unfiltered expressions of pain. It wasn't only anger directed at Charles. Diana felt trapped in a life that brought her public adoration but little personal fulfillment or emotional support. She entered her marriage hoping for mutual respect but instead found herself pushed down by the man she had planned to share her life with. One of Diana's most intense moments, which she documented in her diary, was summed up in 3 powerful words: "Go to hell." This moment occurred in 1989 when she and Charles were living separate lives, and he was engaged in a relationship with Camilla. Consumed by frustration, Diana had confronted Camilla directly at Camilla's sister's 40th birthday party. In her diary and on secret tapes later used in her biography, Diana described it as one of the hardest days of her life, a confrontation with the reality that Charles had returned to Camilla. She later reflected that this confrontation was also one of the bravest moments in her marriage. When she arrived at the party, Diana noticed that Charles and Camilla were missing from the main gathering. She followed her intuition, finding them talking in a secluded room. Diana boldly joined the conversation until they were alone. Then, with a composed yet fierce determination, she told Camilla that she knew exactly what was happening between her and her husband. Although Camilla attempted to downplay it, saying it wasn't that serious, Diana persisted, declaring her awareness of the betrayal. She was determined not to be made a fool any longer. However, the discussion ended abruptly as others entered, and Diana, overwhelmed by the rawness of her emotions, left in tears. She later wrote about how she cried uncontrollably that night, feeling the weight of her 7 years of pent-up anger and heartbreak. This event marked a turning point for Diana, empowering her to confront the painful truths in her marriage. Even though it didn't end Charles and Camilla's relationship, her struggles continued, particularly after she developed her. To seek help, and she worked with a therapist, Maurice Lead, who supported her in regaining her self-worth and confronting her eating disorder. Her diaries reveal that she attempted to take her life 5 times during her marriage, sometimes in desperate bids to gain Charles's attention. The first instance was particularly shocking. 4 months pregnant with Prince William, she threw herself down the stairs, hoping he would notice her distress. However, Charles reportedly dismissed her actions, leaving her alone. She also disclosed other attempts, including cutting her wrists and throwing herself against a glass display. Beneath her polished public image, Diana's diary entries reveal a woman struggling profoundly with depression and feelings of abandonment. She described the loneliness of her life, writing, "I'm surrounded by people, but I've never felt more alone." As her marriage deteriorated, her mental health was affected, and she felt more isolated. Diana's mental health suffered as she felt continually ignored and undervalued by her husband and the royal family. She eventually found solace in her diaries, where she expressed her anguish and vulnerability. Tragically, just as she began to find independence after the separation, dating, and exploring life again, her story ended abruptly with her untimely death. To this day, many hold suspicions about her death, partly fueled by a letter she wrote to her butler, Paul Burrell, more than 6 years after her death. Rumors of Princess Diana surfaced as her former butler released details of a handwritten note she wrote for him 10 months before her fatal crash in Paris, apparently forecasting that a named person was planning a car accident for her. Paul Burrell, the former royal butler who was acquitted at the Old Bailey trial of hoarding the princess's possessions, revealed an undisclosed letter he had kept private through the 6 years of police investigations and media speculation. He decided to release it to the Daily Mirror in 1995 to coincide with the publication of his latest book. The letter appears genuine, it looks like her handwriting, and has never left Mr. Burrell's possession. It was written in October 1996, 2 months after the princess's divorce from Prince Charles. It reveals a strikingly self-pitying, not to say paranoid, mindset, not dissimilar to that on show in her Panorama interview a year earlier. In the letter, Princess Diana reportedly believed that Charles was planning an accident involving her car brakes so that he could marry Prince William and Prince Harry's nanny at the time. Following this new evidence, the British Metropolitan Police opened an inquiry into her death and requested to interview and question Prince Charles, but nothing came out of the investigation. However, the letter remained explosive enough to rouse conspiracy theorists who have never accepted that the princess and her companion, Dodi Fayed, were killed by accident. The generally accepted version is that their Mercedes limousine was crashed by Henri Paul, a chauffeur at Mohammed Al Fayed's Paris Ritz, who was unused to driving the car, intoxicated by drink and medicine, and trying to drive through the tunnel at the Pont de El Alma far too fast for the camber of the road. Mr. Fayed, who had always maintained that his son and the princess met their demise through a royal family conspiracy, immediately revived his demand for a public inquiry. A statement from his Harrods department store stated that the letter confirmed his suspicions. he expressed his disappointment that it had taken Burrell 6 years to reveal this significant evidence and questioned what other secrets he may be harboring in what then seemed like a cynical attempt to silence him. Paul Burrell was prosecuted in the criminal courts. Still, this careless move simply highlighted the involvement of the royal household in the strange circumstances surrounding Diana's death. During the investigation, which led to the failed prosecution, Scotland Yard acquired a massive amount of explosive evidence from Burrell in letters, tapes, and videotapes, which again has not seen the light of day. It is, however, very suspicious that Paul Burrell did not volunteer this evidence in time for the French investigation into the crash. However, it was still vital evidence, and he had to be called for investigation in an independent public inquiry. Although investigations later dismissed the letter as potentially fabricated, the speculation surrounding her death persists. Did Princess Diana predict her death? Could the allegations surrounding her death be true? A new letter written by Princess Diana has also surfaced. The message was to her beloved friend, Dudley Polak, and offered more insight into the princess's feelings of alienation and isolation from the royal family. The note was written on December 3. In 1991, the same year she revealed royal secrets to her biographer Andrew Morton, the biography Diana, her true story in her own words was published. It quickly became an international bestseller. However, it also led to a family feud, with Queen Elizabeth later referring to 1992 as her annus horribilis. Diana's urge to share intimate details of the royals behind the curtain, beyond the biography, is evident in the text of her letter to Polak. She wrote, "I do feel extremely isolated, more than ever now, as I see what's coming to this country and this family." The late princess also referred to participating in a self-development program, which helped her understand the suffering of those much less fortunate, whether in hospitals or on the street. While personal, the tone of the letter is marked by despair, lightened only by the friendship Diana shared with Dudley. She wrote this letter specifically to Dudley because she believed only Dudley would understand her, as those around her often misunderstood her. The note was penned after lunch with Dudley and a few other friends, a ritual she hoped to continue when life got better for her in the new year. Chris Albury, a representative from Dominic Winter Auctioneers of Cirencester, believes the letter is particularly important because it was written months before the public fallout. So, what exactly did the letter addressed to Princess and by Princess Diana contain? According to various reports, Diana expressed concerns about Prince Charles's infidelity, her troubled marriage, and the implications it had for the monarchy, questioning if Prince Charles was fit to be the future king. The affairs of Prince Charles and Camilla had been putting the royal family in a bad light. Diana, as a woman who understood the weight of public expectation, made important points many had overlooked. Her letters confirmed that she was aware of the fragility of the royal image and the secrets they kept away from the public. She hoped Princess Anne, a respected royal family member, would call Prince Charles to order. Still, she met with disappointment as the royal family supported their separation. It should be noted that divorces in the royal family were usually not encouraged, but in the case of Princess Diana and Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth gave her consent. What do you think about this letter? Did Princess Diana deserve the treatment she got from the royal family?